The mind is like a tool. So like this Swiss Army knife, I have the pliers out. This one has pliers on it. It has lots of tools, but this is a grasping tool, and that's what it does. That's what the mind does. It grasps. It also cuts. So here's the blade. You want to be careful with that. So cutting, grasping, that's what this tool is good for. And that's basically what the mind is good for. Grasping concepts, analysis, which literally means to cut into smaller pieces. So we cut it up, we analyze it, we grasp some things, we let go of others. If we can't put our tool down, then what good are we? The mind is really good at some things. It's really good at thinking and, like I said, grasping concepts. And it's important to be able to function in the world. The mind is like that. When we can't put it down, it becomes our only mode of dealing with life. And all this can do, this thing right here, is grasp. What do I do if there's a moment where there's nothing to grasp, nothing to do, nothing to hold, nothing to cut? It's not needed. And all I have is this. All of a sudden it becomes absurd. I look at it, I'm not using it. I just start to notice how kind of weird it is. Maybe it looks like abstract art, like an artist made this, and that could be useful. But then I'm using it again. I'm using it for aesthetic pleasure and appreciation. By itself, if we're not using it, it becomes, I want to say, cloistered. And it's not going to be afraid because it doesn't feel anything. But if I'm identified with my mind, with my grasping tool, and I'm not using it, it's as if the question comes up, who am I? And I don't know anything but this. And so, well, I better start using it. I better start grasping something. So I get busy. The mind's busy. Who would I be without this? I don't know. I'm scared. I don't know how to put it down. It's that kind of thing. I'm saying the mind is like that, and we can put it down. So you put it down, and then what? Presence. Being. Comprehends truth itself. Is truth itself. And is, in a sense, the greater intelligence that allows us to use our mind appropriately. So when I have some use for this tool, I pick it up, and it's really good. So I could put that one up, could pull out the knife, could open a can, got a screwdriver. So there's lots of things I could do with it, but what if there's nothing to do? So the mind, it grasps, it analyzes, maybe it pries things, maybe it penetrates in a certain way. It has a certain shape, a form and structure, but its basic nature is to grasp. Who would I be without that? That's the question. We're raised as beings who don't know who we are because we're so identified with the mind and having, grasping, achieving, doing, climbing the ladder. Maybe it's a corporate ladder. Maybe it's a social ladder. Maybe it's, in the case of certain conventional religions, I want to climb my way to heaven as if it's up there. The teacher Osho said, the mind is never where you are. When I'm just being, I'm here. I am, this is, it's a fullness. To the mind, it feels like a lack or an emptiness, like a void, a vacuum, and it's scary. And the question, who would I be without my mind, is a scary question for people. But it's no more scary than who would I be without my Swiss Army knife? Could put it away, set it down. I am. I don't have to be doing anything. I don't have to be solving problems. Don't we know people who compulsively solve problems as a way to affirm their sense of self? That's society to a large extent. It's important to be functional in life, just like it's important to have tools that you can use. And your mind is like that. Your body is like that. Emotions, your nervous system, to hold, to support, to move. Who would we be without that? The consciousness that we are is prior to all that right now, is the very reality that we are. We don't have to use tools. We can choose to do it. But can we choose if we're not free? If we're compulsively attached to our mind, to this tool, then it overpowers us. It causes suffering. The teaching is like a scaffolding. Awakening is like entering a building, perhaps, like a cathedral, something sacred, holy. It's just a symbol. But let's say the entrance to this cathedral is at the highest point, and there's a scaffolding that we can use, grasp one rung and then the next one, and we may move sideways or diagonally or even sometimes back and then over and then up. But basically we're using a framework to ascend to a higher level and get to a place where we can enter this building. Let's say that entering the building is completely unknowable. We don't really know. We intuit what it is. We have a sense, a radical intuition, you could say, the very root of who we are, what it is, who I am, what reality is. And it won't leave us alone. We realize that scaffolding world, just like this Swiss Army knife, is meant to be used. The world is meant to be used to wake up. Its purpose is to, in a sense, ascend and enter the cathedral at the top. If I were to worship this Swiss Army knife, that'd be a bit weird, don't you think? You either use it or you put it away. That's really what it's for. I might appreciate its beauty. It is a nice piece of Swiss manufacturing. There's nothing wrong with that. But a scaffolding is meant to be used. So we grasp and then we move and we ascend. So in a sense, we use the mind to get where we want to go. We start asking the question, who am I, for example? And the first answer might be something very conventional, like I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I have this particular racial identity or nationality or this set of skills or abilities, or this is my IQ, or this is where I went to college, or whatever. Or I was born into poverty, I didn't get to go to college, or I've lived this incredibly privileged existence and, I'm good and I have my degree on the wall and I can just sort of worship myself. All of those things are aspects of the mind. The world as we understand it. When I use the world, it's the conventionally understood world. It's not nature. It's not primordial being before it's been conceptualized. It is our conceptualization of the mystery that's, in a sense, beyond our current understanding, our grasping. So we understand the world through grasping. When we try to grasp that world and make sense of it, or build, we could build a better section in our little scaffolding area, make it bigger and shinier, and it's absurd. Why? Because we're not using it. We're not ascending. Now, there may be many approaches to this entrance at the top of the cathedral. All around it, many, many different approaches. Philosophies, religions, meditation techniques, any approach that we use, some particular kind of meditation, even the really good forms of meditation are just forms. So we use them, and then at some point we let them go and enter the building. So we start, in a sense, at the bottom, and then we ask, who are we? What is this? If we're lucky, we start to question what we're doing because it's absurd. The existentialist philosophers like Camus and Sartre and others, Heidegger, Kierkegaard, were troubled by this scaffolding world. I'm calling it scaffolding world. A scaffolding has a purpose. If you forget what the purpose of it is, it becomes really strange. And people just grasp at the structure that's meant to be used to enter the cathedral. They grasp it and they try to build something out of it. And by itself, it's absurd. It's weird. It's a form of suffering because it's not being used. It becomes stagnant. We become unhappy, depressed. So we hide that. We pretend that everything's okay when it's not. So it's normal to look at the world and see how absurd it is. Start where you are. What's troubling you? Be honest. Are you troubled? If you're not troubled, there's no reason to do this work. If you're good, then I don't even know why you'd be watching this video. If you're troubled or you're stuck, depressed, afraid, scared, something, start with where you are. And notice where you have a habit of clinging to ideas about yourself that aren't true, or maybe ideas about the world out there that aren't true, which are really just projections about self. One would be the idea that people shouldn't judge. We get upset. People shouldn't judge. They're judgmental. Well, that's a judgment. So what's happening is I'm judging, and it's bothering me, but I don't want to look at it, so I'm saying it's about everyone else. So our judgments about the world, other people out there, so to speak, those are projections of our own behavior that we don't want to see. So start looking. Don't be afraid. And if you are, then allow that fear and just look. Be courageous. The lowest rungs on this ladder, or this scaffolding, if you will, are ideas that we learn in school. The ideas that we learn early on of just how to function in life, how to get food, how to win friends and influence people, just how to function. We learn about the world, facts, figures, and things like that. At some point, usually for me, it was in adolescence, I started to get this sense that the adults didn't know what the hell they were doing. And they were dead set on getting me to join that club, and I wanted nothing to do with it. I've said this before, but the image really is like cattle being led down a chute to a slaughterhouse. I just couldn't live with it. Like, that doesn't add up. I'm not doing that. I am not going to die. If you see this absurdity and this futility and this suffering early enough, you can see it on the horizon. It's down the road. This is where you're going. And you can decide you want to do something different. If you wait till the end, it's probably not going to help much. It could, but it's better to start early. The first things I did, sad to say, we didn't have the internet when I was a teenager, or at least if it existed, it wasn't publicly available. I read books. And I've heard it said that ideas won't help you, new ideas won't help you. The spiritual process is really not about just adding more information necessarily. That's not going to help you because that's just more grasping. Like, if you could just collect all these rungs on the scaffolding and put them in a pile and then sit and worship it, or even better, people come and worship you because you have a bigger pile, it's ridiculous. That's not the point, and I get that. That's a point well made. If you learn and get information that's useful, for example, how to sit in meditation, how to have the correct posture, breathing, how to study, how to read sutras or scriptures or whatever you have that could be useful, that can be helpful, and then you use it. So that information is like a rung on the scaffolding that you can grab and then move higher. So you learn to meditate. That's useful information. That's not a problem. And in a sense, you leave it behind as you go. So as you climb higher, You get higher and higher vistas, more refined techniques perhaps. The basic practice, though, is to realize there's this sense of incompleteness that plagues us, this sense that there must be more, that we're not complete already. And it's caused by grasping. But specifically, it's caused by grasping at a rung on the scaffolding that's meant to be used and left behind. It's like you ascend the scaffolding and there are clearer vistas and more light. You can see more what to do, or see better what to do. If my mind is packed full of thoughts, like I'm clinging to the thoughts, it can be like a hoarded house and I don't know what to do. I can't see. I don't know where anything is. So you have to get rid of stuff. A hoarded house is just a house where too much has come in and not enough has gone out. So we have thoughts that come and thoughts that go. The point is to let them. And it's this movement. And that allowing of it to come and go is a non-grasping awareness. And it can see clearly what's useful and what isn't. This knife is organized, and each tool is on a hinge, and I can see where it is and how to open it. If I took all these tools out and put them in a pile and multiplied it by 1,000, I would start to feel overwhelmed, anxious, scared. A huge pile of metal tools, and I don't know where to find anything. Maybe I could grab one off the top, but what do I do with it? I can't see. This pile of stuff is in the way of what I want to do. There's a reason surgeons have a very specific and limited set of tools that are arranged on a tray. And each one is very specific for its purpose. And it's important to use the one and then set it aside. And there's a light, and it's something that enables us to be functional in life. So if we cling to thoughts, it's as if we're building a hoarded house within our own mind because we're afraid of letting go of our thinking. We're just clinging. It's a grasping. It's a compulsive behavior. And then we don't want to see this stack of junk that we have. So what do? We suppress it. We sweep it under the rug. We hide it. We stuff it down and then pretend that everything's fine. That's not helpful. So often the spiritual process involves just getting rid of false ideas, just getting rid of dogmas and superstitions, just observing. If you start meditating, you'll notice your mind is churning all these thoughts. And if a thought is, the earth is flat, oh yeah, that's not really true. We can let that go. That's an obvious example. The harder ones are thoughts like, I'm not good enough. If we can observe that, we may even see where it came from, how we were treated as children maybe, and then be able to observe how it originated and see the falseness in the structural supports. It's like a pile of debris. See, a scaffolding is an organized structure. The components are mental, basically. They're also physical, really, because if we're going to sit in meditation, we need a cushion and we need an environment and things like that. It's just being able to map all that out mentally and then do it. It's a mental phenomenon. It needs to be organized. It's important. There's a reason that a Zen aesthetic is one of minimalism and a certain austerity and a Spartan kind of structure. Just a simple cushion where you sit, a space that's clean, natural, harmonious, so you can focus and be present. It's hard to do that in a hoarded house. So we start to notice which thoughts are useful and which aren't. And the pile gets smaller. And we start constructing something, and we just become more awake, more aware. Imagine a house that's full of junk, and we start to get rid of stuff, and maybe some light starts coming in through the window where it was blocked before. And, oh, there's that thing that's useful. I forgot where that was. It was hidden. It was buried. I uncovered it. I'm in this process of letting go. The Greek hero Hercules had these tasks that he had to do, and one of them was cleaning the Stygian stables, which were full of centuries, if not millennia, of manure, and it was considered an impossible task. What he did was he diverted a river and just swept all of it out of there. He used the river. He didn't do it. The river did it. He diverted the river. In a similar way, we have life force, we have energy, we have a certain brightness about us that can be used if we would get rid of what's unnecessary. Just notice, it could be physical stuff. We start to get rid of ideas that aren't useful. Maybe certain relationships aren't serving us. We look around our physical dwelling and maybe there's junk and we start getting rid of that. We can breathe a little easier. There's more space. There's more light. We clean a little bit. Maybe we start meditating, studying certain texts. We have a special place for that where we sit. There's light. So it's a functional process. What I'm calling a scaffolding is really taking the things of the world and organizing them in a way that's useful for waking up. So meditation is useful for that. A certain kind of study and method of study is useful for that. It's the light of our own awareness that we're seeing. If we read a book that says, "Thou art that," that the divine, what we call God, the ultimate truth or reality, is already identical with who you are in your essence, thou art that. That's an important idea. And you could read the Upanishads or a commentary on the Upanishads and not only understand it and grasp the concept, but be awakened by the consciousness that wrote those words. The origin of the words is important. I've said that it's like all of a sudden you notice there's this fragrance, just an incredible, it's otherworldly. You know that it's like paradise. Maybe you smell it or you hear music, distant. Where is that? You have to follow it. Maybe there are people around you that they either don't hear it or don't want to hear it. And they're like, no, don't go there. Come this way. And you may have people that discourage you from following something that leads you out of the world, out of scaffolding world. It's only by leaving the tools that we see what they are and can use them. This tool, I put it over here. I'm not using it. It's okay. Who would you be without your beliefs? Who would you be without your attachments? I find it very, I would say happy, but it's better than that. What we're trying to discover or wake up to is the absolute. It's the absolute truth of who we are. It's absolute because there is no other. It is the reality, the fundamental truth that sets us free. The relative is what we use to get there. Without its usefulness, without its perceived utility, which is to wake up and enter this grand cathedral, sacred space, if we don't understand its usefulness, then we just don't know what to do but grasp and accumulate and structure our world around a certain kind of domination or exploitation that is relative in nature. So we have a relative self and we have relative things, but we're using them for further relative ends that spiral downward often. Greed, addiction, war. It's all about exploitation and control. And there's a person or certain people at the top of that pile, and they momentarily maybe feel good about themselves because they're exerting some kind of control. It falls apart. It's all taken away at death anyway. It makes no sense. It's like we're all a bunch of hoarders who can have the bigger pile. And maybe we could manipulate people into managing our pile a little bit so we can be on top and have a golden throne and feel good about ourselves and tell people what to do. the whole thing's going down. It doesn't last. The answer is to realize that all of that stuff is meant to be used to wake up, to ascend a higher level, but not over or above anyone else. Like, oh, I'm going to ascend, I'm going to climb the corporate ladder, and then I can tell these people below me what to do and have this inflated ego and feel so miserable that I'm secretly having to rely on furtive and illicit activities of some kind to just feel good about myself, to stimulate my dopamine so I can feel alive. It's not helpful. We see it all the time. So what is the brilliance of no mind? There's no answer that I can't give you. There won't be another rung on that scaffolding. It's like asking me what a tomato tastes like when you've never had one. There is no substitute for biting into it and tasting it. I cannot describe it to you. The actuality of it is what you want, the realization of it. What I can tell you is what to do with your mind, with your body, with your emotions. But you can't really be effective or skillful with using your mind, body, and emotions if you're identified with them. In the movie Edward Scissorhands, he has knives fused to his fingers, and he's constantly cutting himself and others. And he's really good at topiary and cutting hair and things like that, but he's constantly hurting himself and others. It's like he's waking up and realizing that he has these sharp implements and that he doesn't know how to let them go. And it's dysfunctional. That's the basic idea. We may get to a point where we start to wake up to that, how we're like that. See, I can talk about that. Someone might ask, well, tell me about bliss. Tell me about what is emptiness? What is the infinite? Tell me. I can't. No one can. Thou art that. It would be like trying to figure out what space is, and you're using a tool in your knife. I mean, you can't cut it. You can't hold it. You can't grasp it. So put that down. But I may be able to build something that can facilitate your understanding. Now that we can use the tools for. We could build a chair to sit on. We could cut and shape the wood. You could easily run your hand down a piece of wood and tell whether it's been sanded or not. It often will lead to splinters if you're not careful. It'll feel rough. It's not finished. And in a sense, we want to work on the person. We want to study and pray and meditate to shape the person into a useful vessel. Again, the scaffolding is really your own mind. It's also your body. It's how you live. And when it's dysfunctional, you'll know because it hurts. You'll encounter situations, sometimes pleasant, and it's not a problem. But it's like running your hand down a piece of wood. It's like, oh, yeah, this feels good. And then all of a sudden hit a rough patch and ow. So how we treat ourselves, how we treat others. It used to bother me. I'm thinking about when I was a student. When I was younger, in my 20s probably, and I would just do stupid stuff. I would be in relationships that were dysfunctional and sometimes somewhat functional, but often not. Maybe saying mean or cutting things in a way that hurt and that would sow division and discord and heartbreak and loneliness and that whole path. So I became frustrated with the things in life I couldn't manage and that I certainly couldn't control them, but when I tried to control them, I would get hurt. And I had to learn to let go. I had to become more fearless, I guess, more courageous, more honest, and just see where I was screwing up. So just like sanding a piece of wood, you run your hand down it. And if you're careful, you'll just feel where you need to work on it. The person, the persona is not who we are. It's what we use. Before we wake up, the persona is who we are because we're, in a sense, fused with it. We don't know any better. We're clinging to it. And we learn to shape it. And as we shape it, we learn to let go and distance ourselves some more, get some fresh air and sunlight and just some peace so we can sit and work on ourselves in a sense. But we realize that the self that we're working on is not who we are. We're the, as the Tao Te Ching says, the master carpenter. If we try to use the master carpenter's tools, chances are we'll get cut. We think we know and we don't. If we surrender to this higher power that in the Tao Te Ching is just called the Tao, the way, that we, as it says, we use the male, but we keep to the female. The female is the spacious, open, receptive Tao, the mystery of who we are. And we use the things of the world. Knowing the male or using it, it means an object seems to exist, and to exist means to stand out. So objects, they stand out against the field of our awareness. It's not a problem to use the things of the world. The problem is identifying with the things of the world. That we feel that the object that I'm calling the persona is who we are when it's not. So we learn to relax that and let it go. And when I was a student, I just got frustrated and fed up with the mistakes that I would make. It was usually something really awkward, embarrassing, and stupid that I would say or maybe do. And we've all done that, usually in some relationship where I was trying to find love or trying to find connection and really putting my foot in it every time and feeling really fed up with that and frustrated with it. Because I was studying and meditating and trying to build some kind of structure that would help me transcend these problems, I wouldn't look at them as objects to be hidden and avoided. I would look at them as opportunities to grow. That's the difference. That whatever I find in myself that's dysfunctional, it is. And when I judge it, I either cling to it or I try to suppress it. I remember just feeling embarrassed about certain things I might do, and then having self-forgiveness because it's a mental habit of, in a sense, losing control and saying mean things when we don't mean to. That could really hurt us. We can't help it sometimes. This kind of hoarded sense of personal responsibility that's misplaced builds up, and then things come out sideways. Like we're in a job interview and we are overheard saying something cruel and we're not going to get that job. We go out on a date and we're trying to be nice, then we just can't help ourselves. We say something embarrassingly stupid. Something takes us over and makes us say stupid stuff because we're identified with the self, with the mind. It's like we're identified with being a knife or a set of tools like that, and all we can do is spit blades at each other. We don't know how not to. We try to build something that seems pleasant, but when it comes down to it, we lose control and all that stuff comes out and hurts people. So I just worked on that. As they say in the military, you can't polish a turd, so you get rid of it. So you get rid of the things that aren't useful and start to see more clearly. And some of these things are cherished beliefs and habits, stuff that maybe your great-grandfather did and your grandfather and your father, and you're expected to do the same things. No, you're not going to do that. Why? Because you want to be free. All of that I just described is through time. And we feel a certain burden of responsibility to our forefathers. They even sometimes call a country the fatherland, you know. It's ridiculous. Our fathers were probably pretty misguided. They weren't necessarily wise. There's no reason we should just do what they did because they existed. The whole thing is being able to put your tools down. And the person is one of those tools, so you learn to let it go. Attaching to yourself is ego, it's self-importance. It's either puffs up and gets big, or it's deflated and small, but it's this thing that we're saddled with, and it's built from an attachment and a fear of what it doesn't know. It's fear of the unknown. Like, who would I be without my tool set? You're not without it. It's there when you need it. Just put it away. You don't have to be thinking all the time. The mind is running like a squirrel in a cage. You don't have to be doing that. You can just learn to slow it down and relax it, and then it lets go. That's the point. And then it's just peacefulness, just awareness. I don't know what the next word is I'm going to say. It just appears. I don't have to plan that or hoard it. Even the sense of I it's letting go as I speak. It just flows by. There is no solid thing, no structural element that I can call the I am. It's just thoughts, words, ideas that may or may not be useful. I have these whiteboard pens, markers. Imagine these are just structural elements of the mind. And if we had a bunch of them, we could build something with it. They're like structural elements. They can be organized and suited for a certain purpose, or placed in a relationship with one another that could be useful for something. The awareness of what I call the cathedral is an intuition that it starts with suffering. We find ourselves suffering, and there's a sense there must be more. This isn't it. There's a sense that the thoughts and ideas that we use in life are incomplete. They're not satisfying. They pass, leaving us wanting. And the conventional idea is that we just need more of these, and we could just build something that goes, I almost imagine it as horizontal. And maybe it builds up. It's like building a city, it may get to a certain level, but it's not going anywhere. It's really, in a way, a skyscraper is a monument to self. It's like a big upthrust thing, right? It's a phallic object, like, look at me. It could be useful because you can live in it, but where are we going? A useful teaching is like a scaffolding that knows where it's going. It's leading to the entrance to the cathedral, which is in a very high place. But it's not a monument to self. It's meant to be left behind. It's meant to be used and left behind. You cannot move forward if you cling to it. People tend to cling to life. Doesn't Jesus say, "He who clings to life shall lose it, and he who loses it in my name shall have his reward in heaven"? Cling to your life and lose it. Lose your life for my sake being the awareness I am that we are. Lose that attachment and wake up to the eternal. Clinging to life is death. Clinging to life is death in many different ways. It's stagnant, it's moribund, it's depressing, it's scary. But it's all we know, so we burrow in deeper. We get distractified. We become addicted. We need more. We suffer. It goes on and on. All of that can be used. If you look at a discipline like Zen, for example, there's a certain aesthetic to it. It's structured in a minimalist way that I find very beautiful, and yet it's meant to be used and left behind as well. After I woke up, I saw a flyer and saw that the teacher, Adyashanti, was coming to town. And I wanted to see him. I'd never seen him before. So I went, and he said something that immediately I concurred with. His tradition was Zen. He did a lot of zazen sitting and had a teacher and so on. And I remember him saying to the audience, he said that when he woke up, he went to his teacher and he said, "Zen isn't Zen, is it?" She said, "No, it's not." In other words, all the trappings, all the practices, all the forms that are used are meant to be abandoned and are not the thing itself. We cannot cherish the tools that we use. We can't cling to them. Notice them as they pass, kiss the joy as it flies, as William Blake says. Allow what is to be. We are that eternal awareness. It's like there's one light, and whatever you put in front of it, the light reflects off of it. It's beautiful, and it passes. We don't cling to the thing because it's not anything of itself. It's a means for us to wake up to that light that we are, that truth that we are. At the same time, if Zen is a scaffolding, it's a really beautiful one. It incorporates natural wood and bamboo and stone and metal and water. It's an aesthetic structure, but it's also a functional structure of sitting and a certain, perhaps, living space or space within which to function. It's informed by a Japanese tradition of using natural materials gathered from the local environment and then constantly renovated, constantly taken down and rebuilt. It's like a living, organic entity. I like that. All of that we must let go. And yet it embraces a certain spirit of letting go and allowing that's conducive to awakening. So use what you have. It doesn't have to look just like that. It doesn't have to be a Zen scaffolding. It could be a Christian scaffolding. My way was eclectic because that's what I had. I was curious about different philosophies and religions and forms of mysticism, and I was into it. I was curious about it. So I studied what might be called Christian mysticism. I read Joel Goldsmith. The Art of Meditation was the first book that I had. Another one that I really liked was called Consciousness is What I Am. That was important for me. There's another one called A Parenthesis in Eternity. Those were all very important books that have value because of who wrote them. He was an illumined teacher and wrote from that space. That's what gives it value, and yet it had a structure. The language has a structure. That's part of the scaffolding. Advaita Vedanta, Zen Buddhism, other forms of Christian mysticism, existentialist philosophy, psychological teachings, certain kinds of transpersonal psychology. Just learn about yourself. Use what you have. It doesn't have to look a certain way. I actually think that if someone is locked into a certain tradition like Zen, it can be limiting. Not all of those teachers are equally enlightened, if they are at all. And that's just how it is. We have to discern that for ourselves, and it can be found in any tradition. So use the ones that appeal to you. Notice the flavor of truth. It's like a taste. Oh, that's it. You don't really know why, and you can't think or talk about it. It's like you know it. You recognize it. So you follow that. And it could be from a certain religious or philosophical perspective. It doesn't really matter. If it's useful, use it. I had interactions with certain teachers that I really respected, but whose communities were questionable for whatever reason. That, again, that particular structure or scaffolding or set of relationships seemed disorganized to me. The structure of it prevented me from having a certain ease of access, and there were certain distractions involved. And we've all seen communities that kind of got out of hand. Even if a teacher is valid, if a community gets big enough, it can get out of control and things happen. I ended up working with a teacher who was accessible, and the structures in place were helpful. And I don't know if I'd call them minimalistic, but they were not unnecessarily convoluted or complicated. And they were geared toward waking up and, in a sense, being a better person. It's just being a better person is a functional thing. It's like a better tool means a sharper blade. It's meant to be used, so it's not that we worship the thing. Sometimes people criticize this self-help approach. Like if you make a better self, it's like building a better ego. I call it that sometimes. That's if you don't use it to wake up. If you use it, it's fine, because you're basically leaving it behind. A tool, if used long enough, will either at some point become unimportant, or you'll use it up and move on to something else. So you don't cling to the tools, you use them, take care of them like you take care of the body develop your mind and your body. And the reason is to wake up. And then beyond that, it's just a compassionate outreach to help others wake up. Once you enter the cathedral, you really know what the scaffolding is. And you, in a sense, have left it behind. But you can point to it for others to use. And it's vast, this scaffolding that I'm calling the teaching, but it can have many different forms. Some people may have a natural inclination to want to sit in a Zen-type meditation, or maybe they're more drawn to a certain kind of Hinduism-informed practice like Advaita Vedanta, studying texts and a certain kind of meditation that involves. It doesn't matter as long as it speaks to you and is useful. Just don't make a self out of it. It's like having a tool, and instead of using it, you cherish it, you grasp it. Look at me. Look at this. We don't care. Is it useful? Make yourself useful. Practice compassion. Practice meditation. Realize your true nature and liberate yourself for the sake of all beings.